Took everything to get me here, Phil. I'm telling you. I love people who say, I got sober, it wasn't no big deal. I'm sober today. Bull crap. I did not want to come to AA. I thought this was some kind of organization, man, where you had to carry a Bible and stand on the corner and recruit people. I wasn't going to do it. And the judge asked me, said, you want to go to AA or you want to serve time? I said, I want to serve time. I did. I didn't want to come to AA. And I'd be daggone if I didn't get the penitentiary and they had AA there. I thought, man, you can't get away from this thing. This is like flu or something. It's everywhere. Everywhere I went, there was AA. But I'm glad to be here. I'm finally glad that it was like quicksand. I sunk down in it and stayed with it. I'm so glad to have a sponsor. My sponsor's name is Ron. He lives in Florida. He's from Boston, just like myself. We're both from Boston. I'm a Southie, and he's a Northernie. But I just love being sober. I don't want to make anybody mad, but I love AA. I do. I love God. I love the sobriety. I love everything, Marge. Everything about AA. I love it. I love the weirdos, the mad people, the intelligent people, the crazy people. Oh, I love to sit by somebody crazy. You ever go to a meeting, you kind of look around the room, who do I want to sit with? Where are the idiots at? Oh, there they are. I'll sit over there. I sit with the idiots, man. They sit there and grind their teeth, and you can hear their brains just ticking. I just love it. And I fit right in. I'm glad to be here. I'm sober by the grace of God and the Fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous and good folks like y'all. There's a lady here tonight. Her name is Sherry. She's from Memphis, Tennessee. I love her so much, she makes my feet hurt. She is just a wonderful woman. I love her to death. And good to see you, Sherry, wherever you're at on this screen. This is like Hollywood Squares. You remember that show, Hollywood Squares, where they'd all hang their arms out over him? I just love it. I love it, man. And when the epidemic came and everybody said, and I was one of them, I said, I will not Zoom. I will not do it. I will not do it. And I end up doing it. And now I like it so much, I'm going, I don't like face meetings. I know I will not go to a face meeting. You know what? I'm crazy, man. Y'all think y'all got an educated speaker? I am not scarred by education at all. I'm going to tell you right up front. If you think I'm done, you're on the right page. You are right. I am not. I don't have it going on. I have to get my kids to sign me on this thing, on the Zoom. I got kids. Yeah. They start at 14 and go up to 40 years old. I got youngins. I got mostly girls. I couldn't have a boy at all. I had my brother come over and everything. I could not make a boy. I ain't kidding. Oh, it was awful, man. Had nothing but girls. And I'm telling you, all my life, I swear, this is true. I like when people say it. Now, this is the truth. All that before, ain't you ever heard anybody say it? Now, this is the truth. But all my life, I wanted to live with chicks. Be careful what you pray for. Because, man, I started getting girls, and my God, I've never seen nothing like it. I don't know how y'all do it, but you comb your hair over the sink, and all that hair goes in that sink. And I had to take this special tool to push down that drain and try to clean it drain out, and I pull it up, and it looks like I got a squirrel on the end of it. I swear, man, a big hunk of hair comes out. I think, why they do that? They just stuff that hair down that sink. But I love y'all. I may talk about you. I ain't making fun, but I'm getting close. But I'm not making fun of y'all. But I'm grateful to be here. I'm grateful to have a sobriety day. My sobriety day is November the 12th, 1990. I just celebrated 30 years. Can you believe it? With teeth and all. I came to AA, I didn't have no teeth. I did. I come here, all my teeth didn't get knocked out. They fell out. And your teeth will fall out if you don't brush or floss them. If I don't say nothing else tonight, listen to me. Floss. Remember that word, floss. I'm telling you, you want to keep your teeth, man. Take care of them. I did not take care of them. I just stayed running drunk all the time. That's all I ever done. I'm just a running drunk, no count guy who just didn't care about nobody and just thought about me. And I got to AA and all they talked about was selfishness and self-centered. I said, hello. That rung my bell. The guy he said, Rod, you just selfish, self-centered. I said, no, I think I'm crazy. He said, no, you're not crazy. It's just untreated alcoholism. It's the only thing wrong with you. And I thought, man, I'm going to ask that guy to be my sponsor. And I asked him to be my sponsor, and I thought he was going to cry. I ain't kidding. He said, no, man, not me. I said, yeah, I want you to be my sponsor. Oh, he just made a face like, oh, come on, Rod. Look, pick somebody else, not me. But I picked him. His name was Charlie, and he was the greatest thing that ever happened to me. I'm glad me and Charlie hooked up. But I come from a poor family. Being poor don't make you drunk. Coming from a good family don't make you get drunk. Coming from a crazy family helps. That helped, and that helps. If you're in a crazy family, I understand you're drinking. I really do. But if I've heard people say, man, I come from a good family and just stayed drunk. I thought, how in the world did you do that? But anybody can get drunk. Heck, can't everybody get sober? Anybody can drink, but can't everybody quit? And I had that problem. By God, I could stop drinking, but I couldn't stop starting. I'd start right back up. I hung out in beer joints. I love stinking beer joints. I do. I used to hang with a girl. Her name was Julie. Now, Julie was a nice woman, very clean-cut woman, just a real attractive woman. But when Julie would drink, she drooled. She'd have drool hanging down her chin. And we called her Drooly. We didn't call her Julie. We called her Drooly when she started drinking. And nobody would hit on Drooly except me. I was the only one that would hit on her. And about 11:30, Drooly was in full form. I mean, it's just running out of her like a St. Bernard. It's just coming out of her mouth. And she's leaning on the bar and all that drool's getting on the bar. And she looked over at me and said, Roger, will you kiss me? And I seen that bar towel laying on the bar. I grabbed that towel and rubbed her mouth off, and then I kissed her. I did. I'll admit, I did kiss her. And boy, she kissed good too. She was armed with the facts about kissing. She knew how to kiss. And I drank with my brother. Me and my brother's older than I was. And we'd go in this beer joint, and he was always looking for me. Where'd Raj go? Anybody see Raj? And me and Drooly went out her car and kissed. That's all we done. We just sat in her car, and I'd sit under the steering wheel, and we would just kiss. What do they call it? Making out. That's what we do. We'd making out. And then we go back into the beer joint, and my brother seen me. He said, Rock. He looked at me and stopped. He said, hey, Rock. My shirt was soaking wet. And he said, you've been out in that car with Drooly, ain't you? I said, yes, I have. Oh, I just loved her so much. She was a good, I believe if Drooly would have got sober, I'd married her. I believe that. I really do. And I think we'd had baby Droolys, you know, little wet youngins. But that didn't happen. That wasn't in the plan. I couldn't stop drinking. I hated to say it, Stephen. I hated telling, you know how some of your best friends would say, Rod, won't you just try stopping for a couple of hours? And I would play it off. I go, I could do that if I wanted to, but I couldn't. I couldn't stop drinking for nothing. And I really meant it. I really wanted to stop drinking. And people where I come from down in Western Kentucky. And in Western Kentucky, people taper off. I don't know if y'all have ever heard of tapering off. Now, when we taper off, to the untrained eye, it looked like regular drinking, but it wasn't. You know, my mother, I told my mother I was going to taper off, and my mom said, I cannot tell the difference in tapering and regular drinking. And I thought, Mom, you don't know nothing about alcoholism. I'm going to have to help you. And she couldn't tell any difference in me. I couldn't stop drinking. And I'm 30, I'm in my 30s. I'm living at home. I lived down in the basement of her house like she had somebody locked up down there. You know, she wouldn't let me come up when people come over. My mother would have women come over and they'd play cards, and she'd say, don't come upstairs. I said, well, if I got to use the toilet, she said, get a bucket or something. Don't come upstairs. I would. I'd use the toilet in the bucket. After people would leave, I'd take it out in the yard and throw it out. Oh, it was terrible, man. I just felt like an old sot, you know. And then we moved. I come from a farm down in Todd County, Kentucky. And my dad was a sharecropper. Rich people would let us live on the farm and put us in a farmhouse. And my dad would do all the work. Now, my dad, I love to talk about my dad. My dad was a great big old country boy, big shoulders, big hands, never wore gloves. Never wore gloves. I swear to God, if you would have shook his hand, you'd got a splinter. I mean, he had the roughest hands I ever seen in my life. I swear, man. I just love my daddy. He had great big old shoulders and big old chest. And, oh, man, he was the man's man. I mean, he was, and my mother would buy big shirts with all the X's on them, and they'd button up real good around his neck. And they'd button real good about right here, and he'd get down to about where his belly was. His belly was so big, he couldn't button the shirts. And everywhere we went, I don't care where we was going, if we went uptown and walked around the square to them stores, you could see his belly button everywhere we went, and he always had his finger in his belly button. Oh, like it was a glove or something. Everywhere we'd go, and people would stop, and they called my dad Butterball, and they'd stop and say, Butterball, how you doing? He'd take that finger out of his belly button and put his hand out and shake their hands, and all us kids would go, And everybody loved my dad because he was one of them guys. I don't care if your car broke down. He had duct tape. He had barbed wire. He had grass string, any chains and everything. He could pull you home. He couldn't fix it, but he could pull you to your house where you could get it fixed. And everybody loved my daddy. Oh, man. And every night, not just one night, every night, my dad would clean up me and my brother, because my mother would let us go with my dad if he'd clean us up, and he'd walk over to where she'd be in washing the dishes. He'd take that old dish rag and wring it out, and he'd rub our face and rub our hair, and he'd say, they're clean. And my mom let us go with him, and he went to the funeral home every night. Now, when you live in the country, there's nothing open after dark except the funeral home. And everybody would go to the funeral home. They didn't care who was laid out. Everybody went. You know, it was like a social place. And you'd never know who was laid out or know who the people were. But my dad would go in there like he knew everybody. And we'd drive, we'd get in that old pickup truck and we'd go to the funeral home. He'd pull in that old gravel lot. He'd find a parking space and park that truck. And I'd grab him vice grips to open that door. And I'd pull him, get ready to pull him vice grips back. And my dad said, wait a minute. Now, my dad was a disciplinarian. If y'all don't know what that means he, by God, he meant what he said and said what he meant. He said, wait a minute, boys. And we went, what is it, Dad? He said, do not eat nothing. And he meant what he said. And he walked inside that funeral home and went straight up to the casket and stood up there and greeted everybody. Now, he don't even know who's laying in the casket. But he'd stand up there, you can see his belly button, and he'd pull that hand out every time, shake people's hands. Thank y'all for coming. Thank you for coming. And me and my brother would be in the kitchen at these old country funeral homes. Everybody brought food. Now, country people eat. I don't care how many people die in their family, they bring food. And we walked into the kitchen, and on that table was green beans, baked beans, pinto beans, navy beans, butter beans. I mean, nothing but beans. And I'm telling y'all, if I died tonight, please don't bring beans. I think that's the awfulest thing to bring in a funeral home. Here's a family that's lost their loved one, and they're all sitting around that casket about to blow up. I mean, they're like hand grenades sitting around that. Anyway, I don't bring beans, bring marshmallows or something, something gentle. And, me and my brother would walk in that funeral home, and my dad know we'd been eating. And we'd walk up there by him and stand by him. Our kids do, they go by their daddies, stand. And we went up there and he knew we'd been eating, and he started whooping us right in front of that casket. I mean, whooping us. And you could hear everybody in the funeral home going, look at those heathens. And right about that time, a man walked up. He had chalky white hair, had a suit on, and had business cards sticking out of his sport jacket. And he said, are you Butterball? And my dad said, I am. He said, we'd like for you to come to Louisville and work for us. He said, I'm with the truck driving union, and we're looking for good men, and we heard about you, and we want you to come to Louisville. Now, I didn't say Louisville. I didn't say Louisville. I said Louisville. That's how they say it. Don't ever come to the Derby and come into town saying, hey, is this Louisville? Because they'll rob you. You don't want to come in there and just say Louisville. Well, anyway, that man he told my dad if he'd come to Louisville, he'd pay him $5 an hour to drive a truck. Now, back in them days, that was big money. Lord, that was back in the early 60s. And my dad was so excited. Man, he could not wait to go home and tell my mother. He jumped in that old pickup truck and got on the highway and started doing about 35 miles an hour. And back in them days, that's speeding. Oh, man, I mean, the wind blowing and, that's you going fast. And he pulled in front of that old house we were living in and slid in sideways, jumped out of the truck like a teenager, ran in the house and grabbed my mother, grabbed her right underneath her arms. Now, my mother is a big woman. She is not little. She is big. He grabbed my mother and picked her up and kissed her right in the mouth, and her feet never left the ground. And he put her back down. And oh my God, he was so excited. He said, we're going to move to Louisville, and we're going to move today. And she started packing all our underwears and socks and Piggly Wiggly bags and and my dad backed that old truck up and had cattle. Y'all know what cattle racks are? on the back of a pickup truck, looks like a picket fence. He put a couch on the back of that truck, and for my sisters, I have 3 large sisters. Everybody in my family is large. There ain't no skinny people. I have never, ever known anybody with the last name Hightower that was skinny. Never. If there's one out there, I've never met him. And I never did like skinny people anyway. And thank God for AA. When I got to doing the steps, I can tolerate them today. You know what I mean? I don't get mad at them. I just tolerate them. It's a lot better. Thank God for the steps. So we're going to move to Louisville. My dad loaded up that couch and put my sisters on the back of that, started loading them in the back of that truck like they were cattle. He put his shoulder underneath their bottom and pushed them up in the truck, and they took up the whole couch. There was nowhere for me and my brother Ralph to sit except on the arms of that couch. And we sat on the arms of that couch, and my dad stuffed all them underwears and T-shirts on the back there. And man, here we go on 31W, going to Louisville. Back in them days, it took like 5-6 hours to get to Louisville. Nowadays, it only takes like 2 hours because they built the expressway. We get on the road, and we've been on the road for about an hour, and all of them underwears and socks are flying out the back of the truck. We look like the Beverly Hillbillies. And my brother is shaking his legs, and my dad turned around and said, "What's wrong with you?" He said, "Daddy, I gotta pee." And my dad he did not look for a rest area or a big empty parking lot. He pulled right off the side of the road, and my mother took my 3 sisters up in the woods. I'm going somewhere. There's a reason why I'm telling you this. I'm going somewhere. My dad took my 3 sisters up in the woods to handle their business. My daddy made me and my brother march to the back tailgate of that truck and stand on that tailgate and pee off the back of that truck while cars went by. And I believe that's what made me drink. I believe it. You know, you ever been to a treatment center meeting or one of them hospital meetings, and there's always some idiot in the crowd saying, "Well, I drank because it was raining that day." Everybody had a crazy way of drinking. That was my reason, because I had a resentment that day. And man, we went on to Louisville and found an old shotgun house. Y'all know what shotgun houses are? They're straight through. They got a front room, bedroom, kitchen, and that's it. He found an old shotgun house and back and moved in this shotgun house. He went to a used furniture store and bought rollaway beds. You know what rollaway beds are? Y'all remember them? You unhook them and they fold down. Bought about 5 of them, put them in the bedroom. Bought a table that was round, had chrome around it, and rolled it through the house like a wheel. And set it up in the kitchen. Had 5 chairs that didn't match. Each one was different and went around the table. And he brought in a TV, a floor model, and set it in the front room. Then he went back out to the truck and brought in another TV, set it on top of that TV. I thought, man, me and my brother was watching my dad bring his stuff in the house. I said, man, look at this. We are moving. We are rolling. And my dad went to work that Monday and worked for that truck line and came home with groceries in his arms, and it had A&P on the bag. Y'all remember A&P? Maybe not. It was a Atlantic Pacific grocery store like Kroger. And he brought all these groceries in the house, and we followed him through the house like hungry wolves. And he gets in the kitchen, takes out a big slab of bologna and lays it on the table, and took out his pocket knife and licked both sides and then dried it off and started to cut that bologna. And when he started to cut it, he'd look at me and my brother and he'd say, "How thick y'all want it?" You want it this thick or that thick? And he cut that bologna thick and lay it on that cracker, take that same pocket knife and waller it through a mustard jar and make a happy face on that bologna. Oh man, we was living. I'm telling you, this is living. I mean, to rich people, this ain't living, but to me, this was good old-fashioned living here, buddy. And I'd grab that cracker and go in the front room and lay on the floor and watch them two TVs. Everybody on this Zoom has had two TVs. Y'all know what I'm talking about. One of them had the picture and the other one had the sound. Oh, man, we were living, buddy. We were the first people in the neighborhood to have high fidelity. Oh, we were something else. And man, we started going to school, and me and my brother went to school with secondhand clothes. My dad would buy polished cotton pants and polished cotton shirts, and would look like two little heavy maintenance men. We went to school, and we walked down the hall of the school, and there was these greasers. Y'all remember greasers? They combed their hair back, had Lucky Tiger on their hair, and had T-shirts. They rolled cigarettes up in their arms, and they had on tight Levi's. I could never wear tight Levi's. They didn't make Huskies back when I was growing up. So I couldn't wear Levi's, and that's why I didn't like skinny people. And man, we walked down that hall at school, and them greasers would make fun of us. We was walking between them. The greasers on the right, greasers on the left. And we walked in the middle, and one of them said, "Hey, we got a light out." And my brother went over and punched that guy right in the face. Never seen nothing like it. I mean, hit him hard, knocked the snot out of his nose. The very next day, in the big book, Dr. Silkworth said, we go back to our lives. Nothing counts but honesty and thoroughness. Anybody read that? Are y'all with me? Just give me a little nod. Yeah, okay. Silkworth was explaining to Bill Wilson that we go back, nothing counts but honesty and thoroughness. Very next day, walking through the same hall, between the same greasers. My brother is ahead of me, just a couple steps ahead of me. And we walk between these greasers, don't nobody say a word. But I've had a personality change right then and there. When we walked between them, my brother didn't say a word, but when I went through, I was going like this. I was daring them to say something. Something changed about me. I immediately had a personality change. And I love to talk about that because that's when my whole life spun in the wrong direction. I don't know why that life looked so good. People standing on the corner and drinking. I was excited. Man, that's some good people right there. I wanted to be just like them. And I don't know why that looked so good to us. You know what I mean? That just looked so good. I wanted to hang with them. And I run into a guy in that school named Charlie Howard. And Charlie was a loudmouth, and he drank, and I'll never forget, he hollered out, "Hey, Raj, you drank?" I went, "Hell yeah, I drank. I drank all the time." Never drank before. Never. I had never had alcohol in my mouth. And he just kept saying, he said, "Rod, you like to drink?" I said, "Man, I love to drink." He said, "Be at the game Friday night." And this was like on a Thursday. He said, "Be at the football game Friday night, I'll have a bottle." I said, "I'll be there." I couldn't wait. We went to the game that night. Charlie had a bottle, had the paper bag twisted around the neck of that bottle. He held that thing up like this. He said, "Hey, Rod, look what I got." And he pulled the bottle out, and it was a big bottle of Orange Rock vodka. Everybody on this Zoom has drank Orange Rock vodka. One of you has. Maybe. He'd take that tin top off that bottle. He'd lean back, take a pull off of it, and then he'd pull it out real quick, and he'd start slapping himself in the face. And he'd say, come on, Raj, hit me in the face like they do in them movies. I said, hand me that bottle. And I grabbed that bottle from Charlie. I did just like he did. I leaned back. I took a big pull off of it. And every time, I had never had alcohol in my mouth. Every time I take a drink of alcohol, the same thing happens. Every time you put alcohol in me, my jaws stick out. And I'd hand that bottle back to Charlie. Charlie grabbed that bottle. He'd lean back. He'd take a big pull off of it. And he'd start bobbing and weaving this time. He'd start smacking himself and he'd say, come on, Raj, hit me in the face like you do in them movies. And I'm trying to grab that bottle from him. Well, I get the bottle from him and I take a drink off of it. And this time my hands start tightening. And all I can think about is his jaw. I thought, oh, I wish you would say something. And I hand the bottle back to him. Charlie grabbed the bottle. He's getting ready to take a pull off of it. And I'm standing off to the right going like, I wish you would. I wish you would. He took a big drink off, pulled the bottle out of his mouth. He went, hey, Rod. I went, bam. I hit him right in the face. And he sat down on the curb and started crying. Started calling me all them Kingsport names. That's right. Y'all know him. Don't act like you don't know him. Y'all know what he called me. And that was the first time I ever got a buzz. Remember Buzz, Stu? Remember Buzz? Hell yeah, you remember Buzz. That's why we're here. I got a buzz. I'm telling you, my ears got real hot. My neck got real red. And I got real sexy. And girls, we'd lean on the fence at the football game, and girls would walk behind us. And they'd say stuff like, I want you. Kiss me tonight. And Charlie said, man, them girls never said that. I said, Charlie, I heard it. He said, Raj, that's your perception. I said, spell it. He couldn't even spell perception. I'm that way. You say something to me real highfalutin, spell it to me and I'll listen to you. But he couldn't spell it. And I started chasing that buzz from there on. I'm telling you, I wanted to get that buzz every weekend. Of course, you couldn't get it every night because, Lord, I was only like 17 years old. And my dad didn't like the way I was living. He said, if you keep on drinking, I'm going to send you back down there to Western Kentucky for you to live with your uncle. I said, Daddy, my uncle is an alcoholic. He said, exactly. That's where I'm going to send you if you don't change the way you're living. And I could not change. Alcoholics Anonymous is about change. You come to AA, if you don't change, your sobriety date will. And I could not change. And this guy, I'll never forget, this guy in jail said, if you keep on doing what you've always done, you're going to get what you've always got. And I didn't change. Nothing changes, nothing changes. And nothing changed. I kept getting locked up and kept getting locked up, going in front of the same judge all the time. The judge would tell me, he said, Roger Hightower, if you come in front of me one more time, I'm going to help you. I said, Judge, you better take a picture of me because I am not coming back. And it wasn't 3 days later, I was back in front of him. He sent me down to penitentiary, put me in penitentiary, down a place called, I forget the name, LaGrange Reformatory. I got down to LaGrange, stayed there for a couple of months, and run into a guy. His name was, they put me in the cell with a young black kid. He was like 23 years old. I'm 39. I'm 39 years old, doing time for drinking. I'm not in there for robbing. I'm not in there for stealing. I'm in there for drinking. Could not stay sober to save my life. And I got down there, and this kid would get out of his bunk, and he'd get on the side of his bunk, and he'd pray. And I'd watch him. You know how you see people praying? I had the covers up to my eyes like this, and I'd watch him. And he caught me looking at him. He said, Roger, won't you pray with me? And his name is Hambone. You know what I mean? Hambone. I thought if God would send me a messenger, instead of sending me a black kid, send me a white kid named Eric or Michael. Oh, no, I get Hambone. Hambone, I swear, he didn't call himself by his first name. He called himself Hambone, and everybody else called him. Hambone would say, Roger, won't you pray with me? And I'd say, Hambone, won't you go to hell? I'm ignorant. I don't know any better. When you hear people acting like I'm acting, they're just ignorant. They don't know any better. It ain't that they're trying to be tough or trying to be this or trying to be that. They're just ignorant. I'm telling you, this is my experience, strength, and hope. I know. And it says in the big book, we were ignorant to the program of Alcoholics Anonymous. Didn't know any better. And I didn't know any better. And every day this kid would ask me, for the next 8 months, he asked me every morning and every night. I picked up paper off the highway. I was on the highway crew, and people would ride by and throw in McDonald bags out. I'd pick them up, see if there's any fries in there. I'd look at it before I threw it away. I was craving French fries. And every morning I'd go out, and at the end of the day, you come back in. And every day, man, they'd take them chains off of you, stand in front of your cell. They'd open the cell up. I'd walk in the cell, and there was Hambone. He'd get on his knees. He'd do the same routine every day. He'd say, Roger, won't you pray with me? Deep down inside, I really wanted to pray. But I'm a tough guy, you know, a macho. And that's BS. I'm telling you, that's BS, man. But I really, deep down inside, if you could have tore my chest open, I would have screamed out, please pray with me. Please. But I couldn't do that. Big Book says I'm selfish and self-centered. That we think is the root to our trouble. Not the twig, not the leaf. That's the root. You know how people say, I like to know what's wrong with me. Go look in the mirror. There it is, brother. Go look in the mirror. You'll find what's wrong with you. And that's what I was always told. And they were right. They're exactly right. Every time I'd done the inventory, it would point back to me. Every time. If I do one tonight, same thing. I'm the cause. I'm the root. But I didn't know it then. I had no idea. And every morning, same old routine. I'd get up out of that bunk, and there he was on his knees. And he'd say, won't you pray with me? And I'd run out of cuss words. You ever done that? You ever run out of cuss words? I don't know what to say anymore. I wanted to tell him off, but I didn't know how anymore. I done used them all up. And I went out on the highway. I'll never forget this. Out there picking up trash, putting it in the bag, picked up this card. They're called church tracts. Anybody know what a church tract is? They're little cards that you open up, and they have a subliminal message in it. And inside that message was a picture of the cross. And on the sideboards, it was these two stick men. These two stick men would run to the middle of the cross, and the cross would light up. And I got real loud. I said, that's it. That's it. I got it. I got it. And the guys across the road from me were looking over at me. They were going, he's going off. He's losing it. Because I was over going, I got it. I got it. Woo! They were scared to death. They said, oh, man, they're going to lock him up. And we got on the bus that night, and all the way back to that penitentiary, I kept talking to myself. Now, I wasn't talking to anybody. I kept talking to myself. I said, when I get back there, I'm going to tell that kid Hambone, I'll pray with him tonight. I'm going to pray with him tonight. And that night when we got back, standing in front of the cell, there he was, right on the floor, leaning on that bunk, praying. I'm telling you, If anybody's been to penitentiary, you don't get on your knees in front of another man. It don't look right. They opened up that cell and I walked in, there he was. And Hambone said, Roger, won't you pray with me? I said, I'll pray with you. Don't touch me. Right when I said I'd pray with him, he went off. I don't know if you've ever been around these church people. They go off, man. You tell them you'll pray. Oh, if he'd had long hair, it would have stuck up. I mean, this kid lit up like oh my God, like you turned the flashlight on. He just lit up like a firecracker, and he got back down on his knees and he started huffing and puffing. He's spitting and popping, man. And I knelt down beside him and it sounded like he was saying the Declaration of Independence backwards. I mean, this kid was spitting out some words, man. He was on fire. And right about that time, the guards walked by and they got to our cell and counted us. And that kid didn't miss a beat. He just kept praying real loud. He said, Roger, God don't care who's watching. I thought, oh, man, quit it. Hey, bring it down a little bit. Bring it down. I'm thinking it to myself. He said, Roger, God don't care who's watching. God don't care who's listening. He said, God is the perfect gentleman. He's ready when you're ready. I thought, oh, man. I got back down on my knees, and all I did was ask God to help me. I didn't ask God to send me a check, send me money, get me out of penitentiary. I didn't ask no favors. I just asked God to help me. And I meant it from my heart. I just want help, God. And he helped me. I know he's helped me. Something's happened to me. I'm telling you, something's changed me. And I can't stop it. I swear to God, I used to look at people in the back row, and this side of my head would say, what a nice guy. And this side of my head would say, go over and slap him. And I don't do that no more. I haven't done that in 30 years. I mean, I know y'all don't believe me, but it don't matter whether you believe me or not. I have not done that. I know I've had a change. I've had a change of heart and a change of mind. And the big book says that. Unless we have a change, if you don't change, your sobriety date will. And I changed. I got out of that penitentiary, went to a halfway house called the Talbot House. You can only stay 90 days. I stayed for 2 years. 2 years I stayed in the halfway house. I never slept on such clean sheets. I didn't want to leave it. It was like living in a hotel. It was real nice. And they pray every night and all pray together. And I thought that was the best thing. They walked to meetings. We'd all walk to meetings. We looked so crazy. You didn't know if we was riding a bicycle or walking, man. We're all just so nutty looking. And we'd go to the meetings and it was so good. And I run into a girl named Beth. And Beth was the only girl that would talk to me because I didn't have no teeth. And I don't know if you've ever lost your teeth, you can't control your tongue. And my tongue was just hanging out like a dog, you know. I couldn't keep my tongue in my mouth because I didn't have no teeth to block it. And I stand back there about a coffee and cookies, and girls would come back there and go, can I have a cup of coffee? I go, yeah. And I'd give them a cup of coffee, and they'd walk away laughing. And I seen Charlie. I went up to Charlie. I said, hey, Charlie, if girls think I'm funny, he said, Raj, if girls think you're a lizard, because you can't control that tongue of yours. And I asked Charlie to be my sponsor, and Charlie sponsored me for 11 years. I remember I was living at the halfway house. I went over to Charlie's house. It was like 28 blocks from the halfway house. I walked all the way over there. And every step I took, I thought of somebody in AA, and I cussed them out. I'd walk a little longer. I'd think somebody else had been mean to me. I'd cuss them out. When I got to Charlie's house, Charlie said, come on in, Raj. He said, why are you here? I said, you told me you'd take me through the first 3 steps. He said, that's right. He said, are you thirsty? I said, Charlie, I just walked 28 blocks now. I'm thirsty. He said, I'm going in the kitchen to make Kool-Aid. Do you want a glass? I said, yes, I do. I want a big tall glass. He said, start clapping. I said, what? He said, start clapping. I said, where does it say that in the big book? He said, does it say that in the big book? But it says in my book, if you come in my house, start clapping. I said, Charlie, okay, man. I walked over to the door. He said, either you can start clapping or you can leave. I walked over to the door and I thought about them 28 blocks. I started clapping. Charlie's back in the kitchen making Kool-Aid. You can hear him stirring it with that spoon. And man, I started getting into it. Oh, yeah. Woo! And Charlie come back in the room. He said, Roger, stop clapping. He said, grab your Kool-Aid. I grabbed my Kool-Aid. Man, he put ice cubes in it. I took a big drink and oh, it tasted so good. I said, Charlie, I got to ask you one question. He said, what is it, Raj? I said, why did you have me clapping? He said, Raj, because you are a thief. And if your hands are moving, you can't steal nothing. I thought, man, I got the perfect sponsor. He was great for me. And he said, we're going to get on our knees and we're going to say the 3rd step prayer. I said, we ain't. He said, well, you can leave. I said, all right, I'll do it. I see what's going on now. I got on my knees and done the 3rd step prayer with Charlie. And something happened. Something happened to me. Because every sentence that he would read about that 3rd step prayer, he explained, Roger, you've now turned your life and will over to the care of God. You have nothing to do with it anymore. You're out of the picture. I said, hold on, what are you talking about? Rod, you're out of the picture. He said, suck it up. He said, you're no longer in control. I thought about it and I said, all right. He said, are you now willing? I said, no, I'm now willing. I said, I really want to stay sober, Charlie. I really do. He said, Charlie said, Rod, I'll do whatever it takes to help you. I won't lend you money. I won't help you find a girlfriend. I said, by the way, on the girlfriend, I said, you think I'll ever find me a girlfriend, Charlie? And he looked at me real serious. Look, he wore big old bifocal glasses. He looked me right in the eye and he said, probably not, Hodge. You probably won't. And that helped me. That was so good to hear, because I had no expectations. Thank you, Charlie. Thank you for giving me no expectations. And that was so wonderful. And that, I swear, man, me and Charlie, we went everywhere together. And he talked a lot. Everywhere he talked, he'd always say, Roger, I want you to help me. I said, how can I help you, Charlie? He said, at the meeting tonight, I want you to sit right in front of the podium. I said, right in front of it? He said, yeah, right in front of the podium. I said, I'll do it. He said, if you sit in front of the podium, that'll help me. So at night, they introduced Charlie. Charlie got up there. Charlie said, I'm real nervous tonight. He said, back when I got sober, they said, well, if you're real nervous, look at somebody real ugly. And he looked right at me. And everybody started laughing. I didn't get it. You know, I thought, man, why is everybody laughing? I'm here to help him. I thought I was really helping him. And man, I'm telling you, he was such a good guy. Such an inspiration to my life. I'm telling you, anytime I had a problem, we went walking. He was a walking sponsor. You ever been with somebody like that? You know, like I said, Charlie, man, I got troubles. He said, let's go walk. We go walk. I remember one time I was at the halfway house. I called him. I said, Charlie, I need you, man. He said, well, come see me. I went down to his house. I walked in his house. Him and his wife were sitting on the couch. And so I walked in the house, both of them did like this. They turned and looked at me and said, what's wrong? I said, man, I think I'm losing my mind. Both of them jumped up off the couch and hugged me. and said, thank God you're losing that one. I thought, man, this ain't funny. Y'all, they were cracking me up. I said, this ain't funny, man. I'm really serious. And they said, we are too. Thank God you're losing that mind of yours. That makes room for a brand new one to come in. I thought, man, y'all are smart. These are smart people right here now. And man, I started to get better. And I run into that little redheaded girl again named Beth. And Beth, every time she'd see me, I started getting teeth. At the school, Charlie took me to the school of dentistry, and they give you fake teeth till you get your real one. And I seen Beth. I said, hi, Beth. And she goes, hi, Roger. And she's the only girl that would say hi to me, and I'd sit behind her at every meeting. Y'all call it stalking. It's not stalking, it's love. I'd sit behind her, and every time I'd lean up, I'd say, hey, Beth, when we going out? And she'd turn around real fast. She'd go, when pigs fly. I followed her for the next 3 years. 3 years, y'all. 3 years. And on the 3rd year, I said, Beth, when we going out? I started getting real teeth now. If you're missing teeth and you haven't done the steps, go through the steps, your teeth will grow back. Yeah, mine started coming back. And I got behind Beth. I said, hey, Beth, when we going out? And she said, tonight. Huh? She said, tonight. Huh? She said, tonight. She said, I'll go anywhere you want to go, long as it's got as long as it's lidded real good, a lot of light. I said, how about Dairy Queen? She said, all right, I'll meet you over there. She got in her car and drove to Dairy Queen, and it just realized I ain't got a car. I had to run over. I took off running. I ran over to Dairy Queen, went in, got 2 ice creams, and I come out of the store, went over to Beth. She stand by her car, and I hand her an ice cream, and she pushed my arm back and kissed me right in the mouth. In the mouth. Man, I ain't been kissed since my mama. My mama was the last woman that ever kissed me, and this girl's kissing me, man, I can't walk. I can't move. I'm telling you. And Cherry, I'm telling you, that girl made me feel so darn good. I've never in my life felt so good. And man, we started dating. Now, I know I'm running out of time now. Sorry, y'all. But we started dating, and it was around Christmas Eve of 1997. And Beth said, I want you to come over to my apartment. I got a present for you. And we'd been seeing each other for about a year. I went and bought a ring at the diamond store. That's right. I had the receipt and everything. I could prove it, I've been used to buying stuff off the street, but I bought her a ring from the diamond store, an engagement ring. And that was, she said, come in and sit down on the couch. I got a present for you. She brought a box in, opened up the box, and there was 2 pairs of khaki breeches. You know what those are, Sherry? It's got Dockers on them. Never had them before in my life. I always wore bibbed overalls. I usually wear bibs when I talk, but Phil said wear a shirt and tie. So I said, she handed me them khakis, and I stood up. I said, Beth, sit down. She sat down, and I reached in the pocket, and I brought out that ring case, and I opened it up. I said, Beth, and I started crying. I just started bawling. I couldn't even talk, man. I just started bawling. She said, what's wrong? I said, Beth, we married? Man, I couldn't get it out. And she started crying. And then her roommate come in the room. She said, what happened? She said, Roger asked me to marry him. And the roommate started crying. Everybody's crying. I thought, man, what did I do wrong? And we got married on May the 30th, 1997. And we've been married ever since. Swear to God. I've been married ever since, man. And we've been having babies after babies. I'm telling you, you can't hold hands forever. After a while, you got to have a baby. And man, we started having babies, and all I could make was a girl. I could not make a boy for nothing. And we had two girls right in a row, Lily and Katie. And everywhere I went, when I'd get off work, I wore dirty bibbed overalls, dirty T-shirt, and had grease all over me. And I got a pink diaper bag carrying two little babies. I'd walk in the AA meeting, everybody would shake my hand. And I'd change their diapers in the meeting. You'd smell that baby all over the room. Oh, it was wonderful, man. And they started getting big, and they was getting up around 11 and 12. And Beth was helping a little girl who was pregnant, and she couldn't stay sober. She kept taking cracks and marijuanas all the time while she was pregnant. And Beth would say, quit taking them cracks and quit taking them marijuanas and quit taking them drinks. She said, you got a baby living in. It was a little boy. And when the boy was born, she named him Christian. And Christian was born, and that girl come over my house. She said, Roger, will you watch Christian? I said, will I watch him? Oh man, I got nothing but girls. I started playing with me, playing with him. And I went to the Old Navy and bought him a onesie and the twosies and all that stuff. And oh man, and that girl never came back. She never came back. And my sponsor said, Roger, go file emergency adoption. Go right now, go today. I went and filed emergency adoption. And you had to go to court 7 times. And every time you went, Sherry, you had to give them money. It wasn't like $1,000. You had to give them like $1,500 each time. And I done it. Now, I'm not a doctor or a lawyer. I know I look like one, but I'm not. I'm just a truck driver. And everybody in this room seen me driving a truck. Go on, say, I ain't never seen you. Go ahead. It's all right. I can prove it. Now look at me sideways. Everybody in this room seen me driving a truck. And that's all I do, man. I don't make that much money, but I was willing to give them everything I had. And I went to court 7 times. And on the 7th time, that little girl showed up in the courtroom. She come in there, bust the door open, started calling us name, SOBs, MFs. Just hollering real loud. And the judge said, get her out of here. And the prosecuting attorney come up to me and hugged me. She was a real mean looking woman. And she hugged me, put her face against my face and just hugged me. She said, I'm so proud of you, Roger Hightower. She said, you're the only one that's kept coming back. She said, usually when it costs money, they all back out. She said, but you kept coming. She said, it's going to happen today. And so the judge got up there and he said, Mr. Roger, today that child belongs to you. He'll have your last name. His name would be Christian Hightower. And we walked out of that courtroom. I couldn't believe it. I just adopted a child. And it was a wonderful feeling. And I would go pick Christian up at school. And at school, they have a car line. Y'all know what car lines are, where you pick your child up. And each time you pull up, they'd open the door and let the child in. And when they got to my car, Christian come running out. He jumped in the car and he sat down. He said, hey, Dad, guess what? I said, what? He said, today they brought the fire engine. I said, did they? He said, yeah, Dad, it was great. I said, did you ring the bell? He said, I rung the bell. I said, you play with the hoses? He said, I crawled back on the hoses. He said, oh, Dad, it was great. I said, Christian, what was the best part of your day? He looked at me real serious. He said, being with you. I'm telling you, you can have my drink. You can have my drug, or you can have my attitude. I like the life I'm living. all because of the 12 steps in Alcoholics Anonymous and the grace of God. I live a life that's unbelievable. I got kids that look at me like, man, I'm a box of ice cream. They love me. They love me, man. And I'll take that love over anything. I'd rather do what I'm doing today than what I was doing. I thank y'all for listening. It's an honor to be here and a pleasure. Thank you very much. Thank you.